Welcome everyone to a festive edition of the Definitive Crusade. I am your host, as always, joining the machine Hughes, and joining me across the pond, we have Freyja. Freyja, season's greetings.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah, excellent. I tried to get hold of Josh, but he seems that he's, with all the crisis stuff that's going on, whether it be rehashed comic books or the CW having an effect on our gang, he's stuck on Earth 4D2, wherever the hell that is. So, you know. Josh, if you can hear us, reach out, man. Tell us your thoughts. Get in touch. Tell us about some of these fantastic books that we're going to look at. He says, crossing his fingers, hopefully. Are you all done with your Christmas shopping? You all sent off to Santa Claus, ready for the big day?
I get my Christmas shopping done early.
Like January early, or like just October early? I
like October early.
And
Black Friday's just for me getting my own stuff.
Okay. I am waiting for one thing to come through the magic of eBay. So I'm riding the eBay delivery train of stress right now. See how that goes. But other than that, I'm all good. See what geeky stuff we are all going to get. Right, let's jump into the books. We'll start off with an amazing fact. This book was solicited to come out today, and lo and behold, it actually has. It's not delayed. Who'd have thought that?
Christmas miracle.
Hallelujah. We are, of course, ironically and sarcastically talking about the final chapter of the Doomsday Clock, written by Jeff Johns, art by Gary Frank, colours. I'm going to assume it's Brad Anderson, thanks to his tweets about 6 weeks ago. I have to assume, pretty much because there's no evidence on the preview book we've been sent, who the colorist or the letterer is. And even on DC's own webpage, those creators are left out. Shame on you, DC. Shame. There you go. That's me telling them off. Right. So after all this waiting, the clock has ticked its last tock for the time being. Freyja, what did you think?
Well, I'm happy it's finally over.
Hooray!
But, as usual, the art is really good. I enjoyed the artwork. It was super dialogue heavy. Like, I had to put it down sometimes because it's just so much dialogue and expositional vomit, like, throughout every single page. It felt like they just needed to wrap it up, and so they're like, okay, let's just have Dr. Manhattan monologue through the entire freaking thing, and not the whole thing. I'm like, what was the point of this whole thing? Like,
I'm glad I'm not the only one who thought that.
It feels like there was no point. I'm like, okay, so the comedian gets sent back to how he dies, so he dies, and freaking Superman and Dr. Manhattan didn't even fight each other. He was just standing there the whole time, and Superman was getting attacked by everybody else. They were building up this fight, and then they didn't even fight. Yes. He was just standing there, and then all of a sudden, for some reason, they were like, oh, it's Superman being sent as the creation of each new world. And I'm like, what?
Yeah. I think it's
okay.
It's a tad existential. I can't even say that word. But yeah, that whole existential, I should say. Yeah, they're taking the whole Action Comics #1 starting the superhero world a little bit too literally there, aren't they? If they think about Superman is the creation point for every DC multiverse.
Yeah, it was a bit. It was quite a bit much. And then just having all of the superheroes all at once. I mean, yeah, that's cool, but you don't really get to see them. So, like, so it was just kind of like, okay. And then Saturn Girl's there, but, you know, just like everyone else, she's not a focal point of anything. And it was just, it felt like this had no point. and that's really sad considering it was the last book. And the way that Dr. Manhattan didn't destroy everything, I feel like it's, I don't know, it seemed like, what is the word? What is the term? Like, it had no payoff. It was just boring. And so I'm very disappointed. But then again, I kind of lost interest in this book run a long time ago. Also, sorry, spoilers for the very, very end for people. Does that mean that the mime and God, I don't even remember her name, Marionette puppet.
Well done.
Does that mean that they're Clark Kent's, or whose child is it? Superboy, or because like they call me Clark. I'm like, so does that mean that they're Kryptonians?
I gave up.
Is he Superman? I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense.
It's my issues with this book. You're absolutely right. The art is gorgeous throughout. My issues are very similar to yours. When you look back and you look at issue number 11, for example, which was just a recap of everything that had gone on already, could they not have split this book so that we had, like, instead of having it so dialogue heavy, to kind of like balance it out a little bit? Because it felt the last issue was all like so previously on, and because that takes an issue out of the actual storytelling arc, you've now got to work to get that much more story in the last issue. I think they belabored the point, with the whole it's August such and such, and I've moved Alan Scott. Now I haven't moved him. Now he's got the lantern. I'm like, yeah, get it already. You've said that like way back when, issue 1 or 2, you were talking about moving people around. It's like, there's just too much long-windedness for it. And you're absolutely right. What's the point of seeing all the superheroes if you're not going to do anything, or supervillains as well? And of course, the delays in the book have had a huge, huge impact, because you've got to think, this book must have originally been scheduled to come out. It was supposed to be a monthly book when it first started, so it was supposed to come out last December. Last November, December. At which point, it then, after 2 issues or so, it got moved to bi-monthly. So whatever, once every 2 months. Because of that, we've already seen the Legion of Superheroes. They've got their own book already. It's not a surprise that they exist. We've seen the Justice Society of America. They're currently in the Justice League book.
Yeah.
So the big reveal has lost all its power.
It's not a big reveal.
Yeah, because it's too late. If this book had shipped not this particular issue, but if the books previously had shipped at the right time, you know what? It might have fallen lucky, and we would have had, bam, bam, they're in the Doomsday Clock, wham, there you go, straight in the Legion of Superheroes book, straight in the Justice League storyline, which is going on at the minute. Which, to be fair, feels like it's been going on almost as long as the Doomsday Clock. But
yeah. And that's why I think I said this before. With these like runs like this, these smaller, specials and whatnot, I feel like they should complete everything first before they start releasing them, because that way you won't have the delays, and then you won't have this problem where everybody, like the Justice Society and all of them, are already showing up in books, even though it was supposed to be a big reveal. I think they should get everything done and then release them one by one. But that's just me being super organized and time management skills that don't work. But that's just me. But no, they just had these delays after delays, and now it's just, and people lose interest when you're delayed so much, and it's just I stopped even wanting to buy these books a long time ago. So
there you go. So a bit of a mixed bag. If you've enjoyed the previous issues, chances are you're going to get into this. I'm not sure how much impact it has or any correlation with the Watchmen TV show. To be fair, I'm not even sure there's that much correlation between this and the actual Watchmen the first time around, other than the aping of the style. It is what it is. I think it's a miss for as a whole project. I think DC have missed an opportunity there. And of course, if they need someone with super talented time management skills, Freyja, send in your resume. Get it done.
Yeah, I mean,
you still got to do this pod though. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Next book, one of Freyja's choices. It is Harleen 3. Ironically, a delayed Harleen 3. This should have come out a couple of weeks back. It got pushed back in the schedule for whatever reason. Black Label book, written by and art by Stepan Seach. Letters by Gabriella Downey. All right. So Mr. Seach is also a renowned colorist, hence he's the, I suppose, the creative force behind this whole thing. Freyja, you called this. Did you call it before you looked at it, or did you look at it then call it?
I looked at it and then called it.
All right. Okay. Okay. Cool. All right then. Go on then. Let's have it.
All right. So I actually have been loving the Batman Black Label stuff because he is definitely one of those heroes that his whole Gotham City and everything should be more of a mature audience's story. And I like this because I feel like this is how an origin story should be done, because they're trying to show that Harley is not an idiot, and she's really not here. And you know, it's hard to, when someone acts like a complete and total bimbo, it's hard to say that she's intelligent.
Yeah. She's had a bit of a rough ride, hasn't she, with various outfit changes, and of course the new 52 version of Harley on the roller skates, and then obviously the Margot Robbie one with the short shorts that are like really short. So, but yeah,
it's. I really enjoyed it. It also helps show her development of like relationships with the other villains, like why her and Ivy get along, and you know, stuff like that, and how she became who she is. And it's more of like a I like also the artwork is great. I like the design choices for everybody. It also showed that Batman does have concern and he does care about these people. And and I don't know, I really liked it. Also, it goes to show that and I've seen this a lot with women, and I might get hate for this, but I've seen it all the time. Women like to get in relationships where they think they can fix the guy, and that's usually how you get suckered into these, you know, abusive relationships, is because, you know, oh, I can fix him, or no one else understands him but me, you know. And it just goes to, and it just really does show that Joker is a sociopath, and that he knows how to manipulate people, and he figured out very quickly how to manipulate her to get what he wanted, and how she essentially became what he wanted, and that she's not helping him at all. She's actually going down the wrong path, and so Bruce is trying to help her. And so that makes more sense than like her just, it makes more sense with them trying to like make her become a good person recently. It makes sense that way, instead of being like her all of a sudden, because I don't know, I just love this. I love the whole, even sometimes it was dialogue heavy, it really did make more sense. And
I think
more real.
I think you're absolutely right to pick up on the dialogue heaviness. It's funny because we just talked about Doomsday and how that kind of was a laborious read at times. With Harleen, it was very much for me, it felt like the longhand version of writing, and you kind of expect that from a psychologist type of character. So I think it kind of fits into who she was a lot easier than it does in other books, which are sometimes dialogue heavy. So, because you're not just getting her feelings, you're getting her interpretation of the other character's feelings, and then her actions on top of that. So, from a psychological point, and remember, this book is just all about the psychology of, love is blind, that it needs that explanation. It can't just be like, you've said it yourself. She's not a bimbo. She's an intelligent woman. So we need to then show that intelligence rather than just say, I'm an intelligent woman. Now I've got my thigh highs on. You're like, there's got to be like the steps to get to that. And for the record, thigh highs don't stay up that long. No. So, girls, if you're going to do the thigh highs, wear a belt, right? That's what I'm saying. Okay. I think you're right about the whole, people getting relationships to fix people. You know what? I think I kind of agree with you. Historically, we see it a lot more with women who try to fix the guys. But I'm sure there's guys that get in relationships thinking to curb a potential destructive element in a relationship. The person thinks, if she's with me, she won't drink so much, or she won't do this, or she won't do that, or anything like that. It's just not as observed. Is that probably the right way to go with that? I love the art. I love Seach's artwork from the get-go. It is Seach, so if you've read Sunstone, there's going to be some sexy times sooner or later. And, the cover hints at it already. I think it's got a bondage cover on there. And, of course, we've already mentioned the thigh highs. Because, hey, it's me. Yeah? People are not fishnets. All right. The only thing I thought of dialogue-wise that I didn't like was Two-Face when he was flipped the coin. It came up the wrong way, and he went best 2 out of 3.
Yeah.
And the Joker comes up and says that's cheating, and then kind of, I don't know if that's done to install the sense that, or to show why Two-Face only flips the coin once. But the logic is earlier in the book that Two-Face needs the coin to make a decision. Therefore, if he gets the decision that he doesn't want, flipping it again doesn't actually help you with the decision. It's like, my brain hurts.
Well, they've kind of done that before with him, though. And I'm going to bring up a Batman movie because...
don't say it. It's the worst one. It's
not
don't say it. It is the worst one.
No, the worst one is the one with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
See, I like the one with Arnold Schwarzenegger more than I like the Dark Knight Rises. Yeah.
No, I'm not saying Dark Knight Rises. I'm talking
about Batman Forever. I know what you're talking about.
I'm talking about the one with Jim Carrey. And
that's the one.
Yeah, I'm talking that one. Because in that movie, they had him, he was flipping the coin once, crazy, and then he wouldn't get what he wants, and then he'd flip it again, and then keep going. And so they've done that sort of thing with him before. But
I'll tell you how bad that movie is. It's the only Batman movie I don't own.
Oh, come on.
Straight up. I have 89, I have Returns, I have Batman and Robin, the one with Schwarzenegger. I have the Nolan 3. I even have Batman Ninja. Come on.
And I love them.
So I mean, I bought Batman Ninja, but I refuse to buy Batman Forever. No. Okay. Done.
We can agree to disagree, because I think that the one with Poison Ivy and Arnold Schwarzenegger is Mr. Freeze is the worst one.
You know what? I used to agree with you. I absolutely used to agree with you, but I spent I watched it, and then just out because there was nothing else, I just put it on, and then a couple of days later I started watching some Batman 66. And I was like, this is the vibe that we're going for. I get it. I'm not supposed to be like a serious serious-minded comic book fan. If they're trying to maybe ape the 66 show, to fail, because it's the 66 show is like classic. And that's what, when I sit back and I think about it, I goes, oh yeah, I suppose, yeah, it works. There's some dialogue bits in there that suck still, but hey ho. So yeah, I think Harleen 3. I think the Harleen book has been successful. I did see on Twitter somebody postulating the theory that there's an Ivy book coming of the same vein. So The only issue I've really got with Harley, the book, it's gorgeously drawn, it's well written for the most part. My only issue is that it doesn't offer anything really, really new.
Yeah.
You know? And I think what is it, $6 a pop? I think that's like 18 bucks for a story that you already know. Admittedly, it's done fantastically, but that's my only minor quibble.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, I really enjoy it, so it's on my to own list. So
Ooh, check you. I wonder if Josh is hearing this. I wonder if he's shaking his head at all the Batman and Robin and Batman Forever elements. Maybe we can get him on a bat phone somewhere and see what he thinks. Whilst we try and bat phone Josh, here's a word from some of our other UCPN podcasting colleagues.
One would think that for all the different podcasts that Undercover Capes has, at some point you would hear from the elusive audio guy. Well, lo and behold, it is I, the audio guy, here to tell you that we have a plethora of podcasts to tickle your fancy, from K-pop cosmos to sloppy spoilers, Flipside Focus to the Capes. Check out all of our podcasts on all of your favorite platforms and at undercovercapes.com.
Okay, thanks very much. Don't forget to check out those shows on our UCPN. Obviously, after finish listening to us, don't be stopping halfway now. We've still got 2 books to go. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
We're going to keep it Black Label. So we've got Lolo Woods, number 1, part of the Joe Hill Comics venture that's been coming out of DC. In place of Vertigo, your guess is as good as mine. But Freyja, this was one of your choices, so take it away.
Well, okay. I'm gonna be honest. I did not like the artwork very much because I'm kind of stickler with faces, and this is one of those things falling into everyone's face looks the same, and it's not my favorite, and I just don't like it. Other than that, though, and it did get kind of dialogue heavy a little bit, but it's the first book, so I give it a pass. It's book 1. So I also kind of I like this because one, it's different so far. It's not just normal superhero stuff. Also, it seems to be so I don't know if you know this, Johnny, but in the U.S. there is a city or town, a coal mining town that Silent Hill was based off of, and it's called Centralia, and it is literally been on fire for over 50 years because they accidentally set the coal mine on fire, and it's just been burning since. And so they have these sinkholes, and there's smoke coming out, and so it's incredibly toxic. So I'm assuming that that's what this town is based off of. Is Centralia, and yeah, but because it's exactly the same. But then they also have these in the book they come across this like man deer thing, and I'm pretty sure that's also over here that's a Native American a monster that's very common. I can't remember what it's called, but I've heard of it before. So I'm really liking all of that because I'm from the US, and I'm like, oh, I know about that. I know about this town. And so I find it very interesting. I'm just looking forward to they're setting up a lot of very interesting things in this town. Like the women are blacking out and they're just waking up in weird places when they hit puberty, and then they're when they give birth, the uterine sac or whatever is it's solid black and grimy, like it's coal, and it's just, I think it's a good setup for something, and I'm looking forward to reading the next book. So, even with the art not being not something I really particularly like, because sometimes they're their body shape is one way, and then they have a small head, and then they have dots for eyes, the mouth. Just
Oh,
kinda
yes. Your art OCD was kicking in.
like, oh yeah. But the storyline was interesting enough of a setup for something that I will continue to read it. So
Okay, so this book is written by Carmen Marla Machado with art by Danny. Where is my notes? Okay, colors are by Tamara Bonvallen and letters are by Steve Wands. All right, so a couple of names that kind of screech out there, which we'll come to in a moment. The book, the idea behind the book itself is, you're absolutely right, Shudder to Think, Pennsylvania. Is that PA, Pennsylvania?
Yep.
Check me out. Woo! Yeah. All right, okay. It's been on fire for years. That's the hint. Very similar to the town in real life you were mentioning it. It's kind of like the woods are full of rabbits, human eyes. There's a deer woman who stalks hungry kids, and so on and so forth. I didn't mind the book. I didn't know what to expect. To be honest, I was kind of thinking, what? The two characters wake up in the movie theater. I'm sure I've seen that somewhere in the movie. I can't remember which one it is. But they have no memory of the last few hours, and they kind of try to get back to their life. You get to see a little bit of the kind of classmates that they're dealing with, the crushes that they've got, and that sort of thing. It's like an opening of a new world, I suppose, which is interesting. I found the book to feel like an independent book, more so than even a Vertigo or a Black Label book. Some of that I think is due to some of the people working on there. I mean, Tamara Bonvillain and Steve Wands are currently tearing it up on a wrath of different books, from Dynamite to Scout. I don't want to say Scout. Mad Comics, I think they do some work for. So they've got that independent feel going in there. You're absolutely right. The art is, I suppose, not as standard. I'd probably go as a superhero book, and you're right, faces change. If anybody is into your indie vibe, the book does remind me a lot, style-wise, maybe not in the pencils or the colours, but the same sort of horror vibe, the same sort of like feeling of Faithless by Brian Brubaker. So is it Brian or Ed Brubaker? Ed Brubaker, sorry. So if you've read that and enjoyed it, you're probably going to get a kick out of this. It's an interesting read. I have a question though. If DC are committed to doing Black Label books that are outside of the maturing of the superhero, shall we say, why did they get rid of Vertigo?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because I kind of think to yourself, well, Black Label's originally, and I'm not against independent work. I love independent books. I'm all for creator-owned stuff as well. But if you're going to use Black Label as a way to sort of like mature up and give different dark stories of, say, Wonder Woman or Harley or Batman, or even the Superman book that's kicking around right now, the Frank Miller and John Romita one, then this book would have been sat squarely at Vertigo. So I don't know what the issue was. I don't know. If someone from DC would like to get in touch and let us know why you would change your name but keep the tone exactly the same.
I don't know. I thought it was more of a. If I didn't look at the cover, I would have thought this was a Vertigo book.
Yeah, definitely. An interesting read. It's good. I think it's definitely worth keeping an eye on. See how things progress down the line. See how it goes.
Yep.
I think it's very. I think it's very female strong, if that makes sense. Yeah, there's a lot of strong female characters in there. It's very kind of in tone with some of the stuff that goes around. But hey, I enjoyed it. And I'm as non-female as you can get. So there you go.
Well, the thing is, like, men can enjoy female superheroes just like females can enjoy male.
True.
Like, my
True
favorite
that.
superhero is still Batman and always has been. So, you know, it is what it is. So, and the thing with this, it is very strong female oriented and whatnot. But as long as we don't cross that line of, you know what I'm talking about,
yeah.
Is, you know, you can have strong female characters, but you don't have to hate on men
totally
to do
agree.
that.
Totally agree.
And so, sorry, it's just, you know, as long as they, you know, stick with this and not become just this weird man-hating book, then, you know, I think it'll be great. But, and also don't fall into the same category, you know, the same pit that the Batwoman book did, and don't just focus on their sexuality either, because there's more to these characters than their sexuality. And if you just focus on their sexuality, then it's more of like you're fetishizing it, and it just kind of ruins the book, because people are like, cool. And I've said this before, could you imagine reading a Batman book, but every like page or two he's like reminiscing about one of his ex-girlfriends, like, you know, or like, oh yeah, I baked Catwoman on this roof last week. And no one likes that with, you know, the men characters. So why would we do that with the, you know, the LGBTQ characters? It ruins the story, because they are more to that, and you need to expand on more than that. And that's, you know, as long as this book doesn't fall into those traps, then I think it has a high likelihood of being a good book.
I agree wholeheartedly with what you're saying. Totally. I was thinking about this earlier today when I finished reading the book. I was, you know, we talk a lot about diversity and equality. And we seem to say, like, this is good, therefore that is bad. Now, diversity means that we recognize the things that are different about people, not just, to use a term, whitewash it across so everyone's the same, right?
Yeah.
Equality means that everybody is treated equal, regardless of those things that make us different.
Yep.
That's how it should work. And you're absolutely right. When I read this book, I was intrigued to the idea of the fact that one of the characters has a crush on the prim and proper beauty queen, and the other one's got a crush on a teacher. And I'm thinking to myself, you know what? That doesn't matter that the characters are both girls. You know, I'm sure in my school years, I probably fancied the beauty queen, or I had a crush on one of my teachers. You know, it's not just because it's women having those feelings doesn't mean that other people can't. And that's just not to say either that because it's women in here that it's like, oh look, look at this, oh this is, it's a slice of, it's an observation of real life. You know, the fact that the book is steeped with a real life location, you know, and even in the blurb about the book, you know, the same issues around the town exist in the town that you mentioned and which Silent Hill is based on. So, you know, there's parallels in there, and so it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see how the book goes, and I think it should get a lot of attention. Joe Hill's huge writer. He's got lots of fans, so it'll be interesting to see how it goes. But you're absolutely right. You know, equality means you can have strong female characters without hating on blokes. You can have strong male characters without putting women down. You can have strong white characters or black characters or LGBTQ, whatever. And you're absolutely right again that the Batwoman book was just too focused on the sexuality. You know, I mentioned Sunstone earlier, and if anybody's read Sunstone, have you read Sunstone?
No.
All right. So Sunstone, it starts off. You think about it. It's about two girls who meet online and then meet in real life, and they're both fetishists. Yeah, they're both into bondage and all that sort of stuff. It's by Stefan Seach, and the reason why I'm bringing it up is because that might be the attraction of the book straight away, especially because each draws gorgeous women. But within 3 pages of this book, the fact that they're both women, the fact that it's bondage in there and fetish wear, it's all smoke and mirrors. You're talking about 2 people who are nervous about meeting for the first time. About going from like that, we're friends, to like more than friends, and now are we a couple? Are we, the real life stuff that happens, and I think that's a credit to Sichu, who's written and drawn this. Honestly, the sex bit just becomes, it just becomes
background.
Yeah, it is totally background,
as it should be, because hang on, sorry.
maybe it's Josh.
Hello. Damn, I really hope this makes it to Johnny. Well, we'll see how this goes. If I'm measuring this correctly, I'm willing to bet they're talking about the book Lolo Woods. And of course, being on the indie comics show Flipside Focus, it only makes sense that I take a crack at this. Again, hoping you all hear this. This book definitely has that independent feel, which, to some degree, I didn't mind. It really gives you a chance to not only get the indie comic feel while still reading a DC comic book. I do like the fact that DC is taking chances with their Black Label line of books. This particular book was very interesting in that I had no idea what the hell to expect. But that being said, I did find it interesting that it was pushing limits that you would not normally see in a DC book. This is just that indie feel. And I think that's why I enjoyed it. Story-wise, it's still early on to truly understand what's going on. But that being said, I do appreciate the direction that it's going. Now, that being said, the artwork, again, does have that indie feel, which I appreciate. The lettering was different. Can't say it was bad, but I can't say it was great either. It was different. So it'll be interesting to see how the next few issues do, but I don't know. We'll see. But that being said, I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the show. And hopefully Johnny hears this, or the audio guy, that asshole. And I will see you guys on the next one.
All right, so our final book this week is a conclusion of sorts. We've been talking about it for a while now. All right, so we are going to talk about the giant-sized grand finale, Batman number 85, written by Tom King, art by Michael Janin and Hugo Petros, colors by Georgie Belair, and letters by Clayton Cowles. All right. There is a backup in there, which also features writing by James Tynion IV, and that by Gillian March, colors by Tomei Moreau. Cowles is on the letters for that one as well. So, I don't know where to go with this book, but Freyja, go on. You can start us off. There's a cover issue for a start that I think you might pick up on. And then there's something else down the line. But, I'm going to see if you can spot them. There you go. We were doing so well.
Okay. Well, besides Batwoman having gigantic breasts and an itty-bitty little broken waist, and also, Batgirl having like a sunken-in stomach and her. Oh god. Okay, I'm just gonna ignore the cover because it's.
See, I didn't. Funny enough, it wasn't the breasts that kind of put me off on the Batwoman picture. It was the fact that her thighs are so big in comparison to her waist. I was like, what? Really?
Yeah, she has a broken back there too because she doesn't have enough to hold her up.
She was like, she's got some crazy stuff going on. It is a bonkers cover, to say the least.
Yeah. Batgirl's not any better. She's very thick in the thighs and then no waist or back, and then her ribs are poking out of her suit. I'm like, she's snap in half.
A couple of other things about the cover. I mean, I still don't understand why the Huntress is part of the Bat family.
I don't either.
It's not Helena Wayne.
No.
And the other thing is that none of these appear in the goddamn book. So apart from Catwoman. So right,
we have Huntress. We have Huntress there, but we don't have Nightwing. Where's Nightwing?
Where's Red Hood? Leave him off.
Well, I don't give a crap about Red Hood, but
hey, we agree. Huzzah! It's a Christmas miracle.
Yeah, but like this whole book was just it kind of. All right, first of all, it felt like, you know, when you're watching a YouTube video and then all of a sudden like a freaking ad pops up and you can't skip the ad. That's what I felt like reading this book constantly, because one shot you're in the living room with Batman and everyone, and then the next you're in a bar, or he's climbing a tower with Gotham Girl, but she can fly. Why is she climbing the freaking radio tower?
At this point, she's powerless. That's the thing. She's been weeded off the powerful venom drug that she'd been taking that was giving her powers.
But she flies later on in the same
area. Yeah, that's because she touches the platinum kryptonite and gets superpowers.
Whatever. Blah.
So for me, the whole scene about that is like Batman's being totally unchivalrous by letting the girl in a short skirt climb ahead of him. It's like, Batman, come on. You know, I wear, man. You know, you've
you go first.
Yeah. Oh, dear me.
This whole thing, and then like I thought I was watching like, why are they putting Thomas? Was that Thomas Wayne in the freaking hockey mask I was talking to? Like it was all over the place. Like, oh, then we're back in the library, then we're back in Arkham, and then we're back in the library, then we're back in the tower, and then we're back. Now we're back in Catwoman and Bruce Wayne, you know, going at it, and it was so disconjointed. It made no sense, and like. And then the whole end, and we're like, okay, first of all, we know Batman wants to marry Catwoman. She left. It's her fault they didn't get married. It is how it is, okay? So Gotham Girl saying you should marry Catwoman is a bunch of bullcrap because he wanted to marry her and she just left. Yeah. So you know what? We've done that. It's done. It's gone. It's over with. I don't care about Batman and Catwoman's relationship anymore. If she wanted to get married, they could have gotten married, blah, 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 blah. Also, the whole fight with Thomas.
What fight?
I know. That's my point. There was no fight. It was the most lackluster thing I've ever seen. This whole book pissed me off to no end. And also, why would Bane go and break Thomas Wayne's back? Why? It's stupid. We've seen that a million times. People keep rehashing it over and over and over again. Don't give a shit. It's not iconic anymore. It's stupid at this point. You know, you can't take something that was iconic and then just regurgitate it a million times and hope people still like it. No, that's not how this works. It turns it into shit.
No one described my cooking method. Cheers.
Yeah. And then, I don't understand the whole freaking let's hang out at a bar thing. I'm like, okay, Bruce, I don't get what this whole football talk has to do with anything, but sure, let's have that conversation. It just felt like a bunch of bullshit thrown together because there wasn't enough to make a book, and then they had to make this into this big book, which doesn't even need to exist. This whole thing could have ended in the last issue, you know, because it would have taken like 5 panels. This whole thing is stupid. Yeah. Also, and this whole, let's just be real, this entire run was stupid because I still don't understand why Thomas Wayne was killing people and what the whole situation was. If he wanted his son to not be Batman, why didn't he just sit down and have a conversation with him instead of torturing him? Also, the whole reason that Thomas Wayne became Batman was because his son died. So why would he go through why would he torture his own son if he was the reason he became Batman in the first place? And then Bruce Wayne, it was stupid. The whole thing's stupid. It made no sense. There's no payoff. Nothing happened. Now we just have a random Thomas Wayne running around, apparently.
Well, no, because he's had his back broken. But,
yeah, well, he was bedridden to begin with. So what does breaking his back do? The dude was not doing anything. It was this whole book, this whole run was a bunch of shit. It happened, and then absolutely nowhere. Nothing happened. Nothing made sense. None of the characters acted like themselves. Why was Psycho Pirate standing there doing absolutely fucking nothing in the whole library if he worked for Thomas Wayne? He had no point and purpose in even being around. Why was the rest of the Bat family in the other room? Were they actually, why did they kill Al? Why would they kill Alfred? Had no point in burying anything, Now we just have a dead Alfred.
And holiday Christmas cheer to you all.
This whole book is stupid. This run is stupid. I hope you guys didn't waste your money on it because it's dumb.
Right, okay.
I'm angry.
I would like to counterpoint some of your issues. However, for another thing, I kind of totally agree with them. This book is such a waste of time that I have been buying the card stock covers when they've been coming in. I'm not giving you an extra $1 for that. I already have to pay an extra $1 for this book over its normal price. So, you're absolutely right. The thing jumps around all over the place. Your analogy of a YouTube video is bang on right. Perfect. That is such a good way of looking at it. It's done with no rhyme or reason. And the idea that the football game commentary kind of parallels Bruce's fight in this issue about being an underdog and all that. It's a little bit lame. It's a bit of cliche kind of doing it that way. However, I will say that at one point the football game was the most interesting thing in the book.
How is Bruce Wayne the underdog? He's younger than his father, more agile than his father.
Well, back it up, because he had like Bane and Psycho Pirate and the odds were stacked against him and all that sort of stuff. That's the kind of thing, but you're absolutely right.
It just stood in the corner cowering like a little pansy. Love him. He didn't do anything. He was just standing there.
So, art issues. Are you ready? Top of page 23.
Mm-hmm.
All right. They're lying in bed together.
Yes.
Yes. Selena is lying on her left.
Yep.
Why is she caressing her own breast? And the second thing, I'm married, I sleep with my wife, and it's not, kinky as that sounds. There you go. And you'll be able to back me up on this, of course. When you lie on one side, things kind of fall to that side, right? So Can you please explain to me why left boob is where it is and right boob is still where it shouldn't be? It's like
plastic surgery.
It's like I like Michael Jennings' art for the most part, but these two in bed together and just talking and stuff, it's like as if they've thought, oh, you know what, there's supposed to be some boobs there, I better draw a line, curve it in. Great. No. And check out the size of Bruce Wayne's thumb. It's huge. Look at it. I know what they say about guys with big thumbs needing big gloves, but come on, man, look at it. Humongous.
Just the only thing is that if you get your boobs done, they don't move. They kind of become solid. So.
But then, I wouldn't know. I haven't had the boob job.
Also, a lot of women actually do touch their own chest. So her sleeping with her own hand on her own breast is not that weird.
Okay, I'll let you off then. Yeah. But then, if you look further down the page, on page 24, there's a middle panel of 3, and the middle panel, you can see that they've kind of swayed to the side. And in fact, the left one looks like it's ginormous compared to the one that didn't exist on the panel above. I don't know. I just think if you're going to try and do stuff like that, try and make it look right.
Yeah.
I'm not like, don't get me wrong, I don't go looking around the comic books and oh, boobs or anything like that. But when something's so blatantly wrong, it's blatantly wrong. If you want her to be supported in bed, fine. She's wearing a top, so you could put bra straps underneath it, and she'll wear a sleep bra or a sports bra or whatever. But no, they go with that, and you think to yourself, oh, fine.
We also have a disappearing bat nipple.
Yeah.
Just,
Hey,
on 23, yeah, 23, Bruce has a nipple. I'm assuming it's also at a very weird spot. Just
you have a look. I've just come off that.
The last panel on page 23, the one where they're laying in bed.
Yeah.
It's like under his arm, but then it's.
Oh yeah.
But then later on, when they're sitting up and they're chatting, he doesn't have nipples anymore. His nipples here.
All right. Okay. So getting away from nipples and body parts. I don't know what they're trying to do. I agree. I think this is just milking it now. When you think back, how bad issue 83 and 84 were. It's the Doomsday again. You could essentially turn around and say Doomsday could have ended in book 11 because we didn't need the filler recap issues. Yeah. We didn't need the filler two issues of 83 and 84. If you've been paying attention, then you know what's going on in this book, you know? So, you're absolutely right about the breaking of a bat. It's a Bane story, so someone's got to get broken somewhere along the line. Yeah. I suppose the only thing dialogue-wise that I liked was the "I am not your father," although I also disliked immensely the Avengers Endgame parallel in the dialogue. You know, when he's talking to Gotham Girl, he's like, "But there are good lives. Let's try and live one of those." Isn't that exactly the same sentiment as Captain America in Endgame turned around saying, "I'm going to get me one of those lives that Tony Stark was saying I should go and get"? Isn't that exactly the same thing? It's like, come on, you don't tell me I've waited this long. I've had to buy this stupid book, and you're giving me a line that I got from an Avengers movie 8 months ago. Son of a bitch. What did you think? The Tom King run, I think it's been all, to use your term from earlier, I think it's all been all fluff and not a lot of anything else. I think we should try and move away from having one writer for an extended period of time. Because generally speaking, you end up writing yourself into a corner. Scott Snyder did it with Batman when he had to have Commissioner Gordon be Batman for a while. And then, of course, you have to bring Bruce back and stuff. You just write yourselves into these corners. I suppose the only one who's done it successfully for any number of times is Claremont on X-Men. But that's because the team keeps revolving and evolving. You know, it's not the same character over and over again. So, you know, you never know. James Tynion might come on the book, or he is coming on the book, but he might be able to turn it around. Although the inclusion of the little snippet there that it's another Joker story doesn't fill me with any confidence whatsoever.
Did you also read the what's going on the phone?
Yeah, it links into Superman 18, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's just, can no one keep a secret identity anymore? Is that like the new thing?
Well, he gave it up. Have you read Superman 18?
No, I don't read Superman books.
So in Superman 18, he decides to come clean. He holds a press conference. He goes and tells Jimmy Olsen. He goes and tells Perry, and then he holds a press conference and tells the world that he is Clark Kent.
Oh, okay. Well, Father of the Year right there. Let me just go and endanger my entire family. Father of the Year.
Yeah.
All right, Lois, I'm going to tell everyone who I am. Get ready for all of my supervillains knocking on our front door.
Well, there is a very good Lex panel at the end of that book, so we'll see what happens. Okay, so there you have it. That's our books for this week. Josh, if you're in there, buddy, if you're out there, let us know. Send us something to say whether you enjoyed the books. And I guess all that's left for me to really say is to wish all our listeners and Freyja and Josh and Tracy the very best Christmas. I hope you've been good and you get everything that you want off Santa. All right.
Hey, thank you.
And listeners, don't worry. We will be back between Christmas and the New Year with a kind of a roundup of the year and a look forward to kind of what we want to see next year. So before 2020 kicks off and we're all back to looking at books on a regular basis. All right? Okay. Right, so this is me saying have a great Christmas and we will see you in a couple of weeks.
Bye.
Adios.
Happy holidays.